My literature-loving friends, imagine a jungle so dense that it feels like the earth itself is holding its breath. Every leaf, every shadow, every glimmer of sunlight filtering through the canopy carries a quiet tension, as if nature itself is a co-conspirator in a game of survival. Into this green, suffocating labyrinth walks a team of elite soldiers, men forged in the crucible of war, their movements precise yet laden with human frailty. This is the stage for Predator 1987, a film that is not merely a sci-fi action spectacle, but an audacious fusion of narrative courage, technological daring, and commercial ambition. Produced by 20th Century Fox with a budget of approximately $15 million, Predator was a calculated risk in the studio system of the late 1980s. Here was a movie that blended two potent forces: the booming popularity of muscular action stars, Arnold Schwarzenegger at the helm, and a story that combined jungle warfare with extraterrestrial horror. Investor confidence was cautious, but tantalized by the allure of genre hybridization. The gamble: could a film simultaneously appeal to action enthusiasts, science fiction aficionados, and thriller fans? The answer would shape a new benchmark in high-octane, intelligent monster cinema. At its core, Predator is a study in contrasts. Human ingenuity versus alien technology, raw strength against calculated stealth, and survival instinct against moral and strategic choices. Its plot, deceptively simple, revolves around Dutch, Arnold Schwarzenegger, leading a special forces team on a mission in a Central American jungle to rescue hostages from guerrilla insurgents. Within hours, the mission becomes a crucible as the team discovers they are not only hunted by human enemies, but stalked by an extraterrestrial predator, a technologically advanced hunter with invisible cloaking, infrared vision, and an arsenal that turns the jungle into both weapon and shield. What unfolds is a relentless test of human resilience and tactical acumen. From an industrial perspective, Predator represented a sophisticated interplay between art and engineering. James Cameron and John McTiernan's early drafts emphasized suspense over overt spectacle, but the production ultimately had to negotiate the realities of practical effects, animatronics, and limited CGI technology in its infancy. The Predator suit, designed by Stan Winston, cost nearly $350,000 in 1987 dollars, reflecting an extraordinary allocation of capital to bring a non-human antagonist to life convincingly. This investment in practical effects illustrates the film's commitment to technological verisimilitude and immersive storytelling, a lesson in resource allocation for any production aiming for both aesthetic and commercial success. The creative gamble extended beyond special effects. McTiernan opted to shoot on location in the Yucatan Peninsula, utilizing natural jungle environments rather than relying on studio backlots. This decision increased logistical complexity, from transporting equipment over rugged terrain to managing unpredictable weather and safety concerns, but it paid off in creating a palpable sense of atmosphere, where the environment itself becomes a silent character. Every swing of a machete or muffled breath carries a financial and operational cost, akin to a startup burning capital to validate a high-risk prototype in the field. In essence, the film's production mirrored a live experiment in project management under extreme uncertainty. Equally compelling is the narrative architecture. The story's setup, establishing Dutch's leadership, the team's dynamics, and the jungle as both playground and adversary, is meticulously calibrated to maximize suspense and audience engagement. The Predator itself, with its intermittent appearances, functions as a high-conversion suspense asset. Each visual reveal is a micro-investment in emotional ROI. Screenwriting, pacing, and creature design coalesce into a cinematic algorithm designed to extract tension, excitement, and awe. The audience, much like investors in a venture, is compelled to watch how risk, skill, and strategy convert into survival or failure. Furthermore, Predator exemplifies the synergy of cross-genre appeal. The film's action beats leverage Schwarzenegger's star power and martial bravado, its horror elements exploit the fear of the unseen and the unknown, and its sci-fi innovation introduces a creature whose technology exceeds human comprehension. This trifecta was no accident. Studio executives understood that a film capable of spanning multiple audience segments could maximize box office yield, ancillary merchandising, and international reach. In 1987, Predator was positioned to test the elasticity of genre, the limits of practical effect technology, and the commercial viability of hybridized storytelling. In conclusion, the genius of Predator lies not just in its story of survival, but in how it embodies the harmonious collision of art, technology, and capital. Every roar, every invisible step of the predator, every tactical maneuver of Dutch and his team represents an intersection of narrative design, financial investment, and technical craft. It is a film where creative risk mirrors investor risk, where suspense is engineered like a product, and where audience engagement is measured as both an emotional and economic return. As we proceed into the unfolding jungle of its plot, we will examine not only the survival of Dutch and his team, but the survival of creative vision under the pressures of industrial reality. Predator is, at once, a narrative, a technological experiment, and a $15 million bet on the alchemy of audience thrill and commercial success. As our literature-loving friends, let us step carefully into the thick, breathing canopy of the Central American jungle, where Predator begins not with fireworks, but with a methodical exposition of human skill and industrialized risk. The film opens with a sequence that is deceptively calm. Dutch, Arnold Schwarzenegger, a stoic, muscular emblem of human capacity, pilots a helicopter with surgical precision over the dense green wilderness. He is joined by his handpicked Special Forces team, Mac, Bill Duke, Blaine, Jesse Ventura, Dylan, Carl Weathers, Billy, Sonny Landham, Hawkins, Shane Black, Pancho, Richard Chavez, and a few others. These men are our initial investments, high-skill assets whose human capital will be tested to its extreme. Their first mission is to rescue hostages held by guerrilla insurgents in the region, and this operation is designed to demonstrate both competence and narrative return on investment in terms of tension and audience engagement. The opening combat sequences function like startup prototyping in motion: reconnaissance, tactical assessment, and immediate deployment. McTiernan's direction emphasizes clarity in both visual storytelling and functional choreography. Each soldier's movement is intentional. The camera tracks their positions, revealing both skill and vulnerability. From a production standpoint, these scenes balance risk and cost-effectiveness. Minimal practical effects are needed, but every shot invests the audience in the team's cohesion, making future losses, both emotional and financial, carry amplified weight. Every gunshot, every helicopter rotor blade, every bullet fired is a carefully budgeted micro-expense, transforming money spent on camera setups and stunt coordination into audience suspense ROI. The first encounters with the guerrilla forces are carefully structured, pacing the narrative like a financial portfolio being tested under market stress. The team neutralizes hostiles with military efficiency, establishing Dutch as a capable strategist while giving each supporting character moments that reveal personality and tactical approach. Here, McTiernan masterfully exploits the opportunity cost of attention. Each minor character gain or loss carries emotional currency, preparing the audience for the real predator's entrance. These early moments underscore the first principle of risk management: invest in setup before exposing assets to high-stakes threats. The introduction of the predator is tantalizingly delayed, a calculated gamble on suspense analogous to staged venture launches. Its first hints are environmental: broken branches, fleeting shadows, and subtle movement cues captured by innovative cinematography using high-contrast lighting and early optical tricks. The creature's design, a Stan Winston practical suit paired with partial animatronics, represents both a technological and financial investment. Approximately $350,000 in 1987 dollars, a fraction of the overall budget, yet disproportionately important for audience engagement. By keeping the predator mostly hidden, the filmmakers convert limited technical capital into maximum emotional and narrative ROI, demonstrating an elegant application of scarcity-driven suspense. Meanwhile, the jungle itself acts as an interactive stakeholder. McTiernan's decision to shoot on location, rather than a controlled studio lot, introduces real-world operational challenges akin to deploying a high-risk project in an uncontrolled environment. Weather, terrain, and natural acoustics all impose constraints that affect shooting schedules, stunt coordination, and safety protocols. Yet this unpredictability enhances the narrative. The environment itself becomes a probabilistic antagonist, forcing characters and the audience to constantly reassess situational risk. Every failed stealth maneuver, every unexpected sound, is a compounded cost of doing business in a high-stakes cinematic jungle. In these early sequences, character psychology is on display. Dutch's leadership is tested not merely by combat skill, but by the responsibility of making split-second moral and tactical decisions under extreme stress. Each team member exhibits both human limitations and specialized expertise, reflecting the opportunity cost of talent allocation. Bland's firepower, Mac's steadiness, and Billy's tracking skills are all critical to mission success. When one soldier is wounded or separated, the narrative converts that loss into heightened tension, demonstrating how a director can translate micro-level behavioral economics into audience investment. The first hints of the Predator's technological superiority arrive almost imperceptibly. Its invisibility cloak, infrared vision, and silent hunting tactics function as narrative disruptors, akin to emerging technology shaking up a mature market. For the first half of the film, Dutch and his team are unaware of this superior asset, creating an asymmetric risk scenario. Human capital versus alien capital. The narrative structure cleverly builds suspense by allowing the audience partial visibility. Knowledge asymmetry increases engagement and emotional stake, much like insider information in an investment scenario. Every rustle in the foliage is a teaser for a potential high-stakes payoff. By the midpoint of the first half, the film has established its operational baseline: a high-functioning human team, a hostile but comprehensible guerrilla environment, and an emerging, technologically superior predator. The plot efficiently balances narrative investment against suspense expenditure. Characters are developed enough to create empathy, the environment is immersive enough to create tension, and the unseen antagonist is foreshadowed enough to promise exponential emotional ROI. The audience is now fully invested, anticipating both tactical ingenuity and narrative shock, much like investors waiting for a startup's first public demonstration of disruptive technology. In summary, the first half of Predator serves as a blueprint for efficient narrative design, where setup, pacing, character development, and technological suspense are meticulously calculated to maximize audience engagement. McTiernan's directorial choices, practical effects investment, and environmental utilization create a filmic ecosystem where every dollar, stunt, and visual cue is strategically deployed. The plot moves with precision, steadily escalating tension while showcasing human skill and ingenuity against a backdrop of uncertainty, preparing the audience for the inevitable and terrifying introduction of the Predator as a high-risk, high-reward narrative disruptor. My literature-loving friends, as we enter the second half of Predator, the jungle no longer merely hosts human activity. It transforms into an arena of escalating asymmetrical conflict, where every shadow and rustle signals a shift in the emotional and tactical landscape. The first half established Dutch and his team as competent, cohesive human assets. Now, those assets are confronted with an antagonist whose technological superiority transforms every movement into a high-stakes investment in survival. The Predator, previously a subtle presence suggested by fleeting glimpses and environmental disturbances, becomes increasingly tangible. Its invisibility cloak, thermal vision, and devastating weaponry turn ordinary foliage into a high-risk environment. Here, John McTiernan orchestrates suspense like a financial engineer plotting a leveraged transaction. Small, deliberate reveals compound tension, converting narrative suspense into emotional ROI. Each casualty, the merciless death of Poncho, the sudden ambush of Mac, the horrifying demise of Billy, represents not only a loss of human capital within the story, but an investment in audience anxiety, a careful recalibration of fear and engagement. The team's response to these escalating threats mirrors a startup facing a disruptive competitor. Dutch, acting as the portfolio manager, reallocates tactical resources, laying traps, strategizing ambushes, and isolating the predator to mitigate asymmetric risk. The narrative pace tightens, echoing the compression of decision-making under extreme market volatility. McTiernan's direction, combined with meticulous cinematography by Donald McAlpine, ensures that the audience experiences each choice's opportunity cost. A missed ambush, a fallen comrade, or a misjudged terrain all translate into quantifiable emotional stakes. A pivotal moment comes when Dutch begins to understand the predator's hunting patterns, technology, and behavioral algorithms. The discovery of the predator's discarded gear, thermal footprints, and tracking signals functions like market intelligence in a high-stakes venture. Knowledge that, when leveraged correctly, can tip the balance. McTiernan's narrative structure here exemplifies an elegant conversion of suspense into strategic insight. Viewers, having observed prior losses and environmental cues, participate in the calculation of risk, eagerly anticipating whether Dutch can turn asymmetric disadvantage into tactical advantage. As the predator hunts the remaining soldiers one by one, the jungle itself becomes a multidimensional adversary. McTiernan and his cinematography team utilize natural light, motion tracking, and close-up environmental cues to translate spatial tension into visual data. The dense foliage, shafts of sunlight, and obscured pathways all operate as dynamic variables in this high-stakes survival model. From an operational perspective, every element on screen, sound of leaves snapping, distant gunfire, subtle motion cues, is a calculated expenditure designed to maximize emotional throughput without exceeding the production budget. The investment in location and environmental authenticity yields substantial narrative dividends, demonstrating the high efficiency of strategic resource allocation. Dutch's final encounters with the Predator represent the culmination of narrative risk into concentrated payoff. Improvised weapons, environmental traps, and psychological insight transform prior losses into strategic advantage. McTiernan stages these sequences with a keen understanding of suspense geometry. Angles, timing, and environmental positioning converge to provide maximum payoff for minimal capital expenditure in set design and practical effects. Each explosive moment, each moment of Predator visibility, compounds the audience's emotional ROI, echoing the efficiency of a well-timed market maneuver. The film's climax exemplifies the ultimate conversion of narrative and psychological investment into dramatic return. Dutch, the last surviving human asset, engages the Predator with ingenuity rather than raw force. He constructs a final trap, combining human intelligence, resourcefulness, and environmental mastery. This payoff, framed in terms of survival economics, underscores the narrative's core principle. Knowledge and adaptability can compensate for inferior capital or technological disadvantage. The Predator's defeat is not merely cathartic. It demonstrates how a calculated combination of resource allocation, behavioral insight, and environmental leverage can produce maximal return from minimal input. The aftermath, where Dutch collapses exhausted but victorious, provides both emotional and financial resolution. Practically, the production team uses this denouement to showcase the successful execution of expensive practical effects, minimal CGI augmentation, and strategic set utilization, all aligning budget efficiency with audience satisfaction. This convergence of operational execution, narrative payoff, and audience catharsis exemplifies how Predator transforms expenditure into engagement, illustrating McTiernan's dual mastery of storytelling and resource management. Moreover, the second half emphasizes human psychology under duress. Stress responses, moral dilemmas, and leadership decisions are foreground. Dutch's calculated empathy toward his teammates, combined with strategic ruthlessness, highlights a sophisticated behavioral analysis encoded in the screenplay. Each character's demise, while emotionally affecting the audience, functions narratively as a recalibration of stakes, increasing the cognitive and emotional weight of Dutch's ultimate triumph. In this way, the film is a study in behavioral economics, converting tension and uncertainty into structured, high-value audience engagement. Finally, the Predator itself, though defeated, retains its technological mystique. Its arsenal, invisibility, and hunting intelligence remain compelling, leaving viewers with a lasting impression of superior capital, resources that human ingenuity can only temporarily outmaneuver. The second half thus completes the narrative loop: setup, escalation, asymmetric threat, strategic human adaptation, and high-stakes payoff. From a production perspective, this section maximizes suspense efficiency, practical effects ROI, and audience emotional investment, confirming that Predator is not only a story of survival, but a meticulously engineered study in narrative economics. In sum, the second half of Predator demonstrates how narrative tension, human ingenuity, and alien technological advantage coalesce to produce a cinematic experience that is both thrilling and instructive. It is a masterclass in how careful pacing, environmental authenticity, and strategic suspense conversion transform limited resources, both human and financial, into maximum emotional and narrative return. Dutch's journey from competent operator to sole survivor embodies the calculated balance of risk, investment, and payoff, leaving audiences not only entertained, but also subtly aware of the economic and psychological architecture underpinning every cinematic beat. My literature-loving friends, in Predator, the jungle is not merely a physical environment. It is a crucible of human psychology and a live experiment in behavioral economics. Each character embodies a distinct risk profile, operational style, and moral calculus, and as we examine their choices, we uncover how the film encodes the cost of decisions, opportunity, and survival under extreme uncertainty. Dutch, the team leader, is the central behavioral anchor. He is a master of situational awareness, risk assessment, and adaptive strategy. Psychologically, he balances two competing pressures: responsibility for his team's survival and the necessity of rapid, high-stakes decision-making. Dutch's behavior reflects the principles of expected utility. Every tactical choice, whether to advance, retreat, or set a trap, is an implicit calculation of probable outcome multiplied by emotional and operational value. From a behavioral economics perspective, Dutch minimizes loss while maximizing potential payoff, converting scarce human capital into efficient operational outcomes. His decision-making demonstrates leadership under extreme asymmetric risk, where human skill must counter an opponent with superior technological capital. The supporting team members each represent specific cognitive and behavioral archetypes. Blaine Jesse Ventura exhibits high aggression with low-risk aversion. His reliance on raw firepower illustrates overinvestment in a single asset class, physical prowess. In early encounters, Bland's confidence converts into measurable emotional and tactical ROI, but under the Predator's unpredictable technology, this same behavior becomes a liability. Mac, Bill Duke, embodies stabilizing expertise, deliberate, risk-conscious, and highly aware of environmental feedback. Behavioral theory frames Mac as a loss-averse agent whose caution tempers the team's aggregate exposure to risk. Billy, Sonny Landham, demonstrates a combination of intuitive spatial awareness and adaptive survivalism, skills with high marginal utility in asymmetric conflict, as he initially detects subtle environmental cues that indicate the predator's presence. Dylan, Carl Weathers, initially portrayed as a liaison from corporate or governmental oversight, illustrates the economic concept of opportunity cost in real time. His prior experience and external obligations influence his tactical decisions, often imposing strategic misalignment with Dutch's team. These divergences generate narrative tension, mirroring the friction that arises when agents with differing incentives and information sets operate within a shared environment. Every misaligned decision, whether advancing prematurely, misjudging the predator's trajectory, or underestimating environmental constraints, translates directly into increased exposure to loss and heightened psychological stress. A critical behavioral phenomenon in the film is the impact of information asymmetry. The predator operates as a superior capital asset with hidden capabilities: invisibility, thermal tracking, and superior firepower. The team's limited visibility into its actions introduces an uncertainty premium akin to market volatility. The audience experiences the same information asymmetry, fostering engagement through suspense and anticipation. Each misstep by the team is a direct consequence of incomplete information, and McTiernan's direction meticulously quantifies this cognitive tension through camera angles, environmental cues, and pacing. The predator's advantage amplifies the opportunity cost of every decision, teaching a narrative lesson in asymmetric risk management. Moral risk is another central theme. Dutch is repeatedly confronted with ethical choices: protect his comrades, engage in calculated sacrificial maneuvers, or prioritize personal survival. These dilemmas reflect real-world economic concepts such as constrained optimization and risk-weighted decision matrices. The cost of inaction or delayed action is quantified in human lives, while decisive action carries potential reward, preservation of remaining assets, and, ultimately, survival. The film portrays moral stakes as measurable quantities, translating ethical decision-making into dramatic and financial equivalents within the narrative economy. The team's group dynamics further illustrate behavioral economics. Peer influence, hierarchical obedience, and trust networks are continuously tested under stress. Soldiers rely on each other's signals, interpreting microbehaviors such as body language, firearm readiness, and environmental scanning as information signals. The collapse of these social networks through death or disorientation increases the system's entropy, forcing Dutch to reassess probabilities and reallocate resources dynamically. From a cinematic perspective, these moments are emotionally and cognitively compelling because they mirror real-world decision-making under uncertainty, transforming suspense into observable human behavior. The predator itself functions as a rational, optimization-driven agent with its own utility function, hunting efficiently, conserving energy, and maximizing prey selection. Its actions provide a continuous feedback loop for Dutch's strategic decision-making. This dynamic creates a two-sided game-theoretic scenario: human agents responding to a superior adversary strategy, each move and countermove carrying measurable opportunity costs. The audience experiences vicarious problem-solving, translating cinematic tension into a study of adaptive decision-making under extreme constraints. Finally, the film highlights psychological stress's physiological impact. Fatigue, fear, and injury alter decision-making thresholds, increasing the probability of mistakes. McTiernan visually encodes these cognitive shifts through close-ups, handheld tracking, and environmental framing. From a financial and operational standpoint, the narrative converts human stress into tangible consequences, illustrating how capital, here human life and expertise, depreciates under pressure. The interplay between human limitations, technological asymmetry, and moral calculation forms the backbone of the film's behavioral economics narrative. In conclusion, Predator is a masterclass in portraying psychological realism and economic decision-making within a high-stakes cinematic framework. Dutch's leadership, the team's individual behavioral archetypes, and the Predator's rational optimization combine to illustrate risk management, opportunity cost, asymmetric information, and moral calculation. By framing every tactical decision as a quantifiable investment, the film teaches not only suspenseful storytelling, but also the economics of human behavior under extreme duress. In this jungle, every choice carries value, every misstep exacts a cost, and every moment of insight generates maximum emotional and narrative return. My literature-loving friends, Predator is as much a financial endeavor as it is a cinematic one. Behind the dense foliage, the roaring action, and the suspenseful hunting sequences lies a sophisticated interplay of capital allocation, production planning, and market strategy. Understanding the economics of this 1987 classic illuminates how Hollywood transforms a $15 million experiment in narrative tension into a multidimensional revenue-generating asset, blending creative ambition with calculated risk. The film's production budget of approximately $15 million may seem modest by today's blockbuster standards, but in 1987, it represented a significant investment in talent, technology, and location logistics. Arnold Schwarzenegger commanded a salary of around $3.25 million, roughly 20% of the budget, a calculated risk on star power to ensure box office draw. This mirrors a high-value asset allocation in any financial portfolio, a concentration in a single, highly reliable performer to anchor investor confidence. Other principal cast members, Carl Weathers, Bill Duke, Jesse Ventura, and Sonny Landham, represented a balanced mix of experienced actors with complementary on-screen gravitas, diversifying narrative capital to stabilize overall return potential. A significant portion of the budget was allocated to technical innovation and creature design. Stan Winston's Predator suit, incorporating animatronics, prosthetics, and initial limited CGI, cost approximately $350,000. A substantial proportion for a single prop, yet strategically critical for audience engagement. From an ROI perspective, this expenditure demonstrates a high marginal utility. Every dollar invested in the Predator's design directly amplifies suspense, merchandising potential, and long-term franchise viability. The suit's durability and on-set usability reduced time lost to mechanical failure, further optimizing the cost-to-effectiveness ratio. Location choices further influenced financial calculus. Filming in the Yucatan Peninsula introduced logistical overhead. Transporting cast, crew, equipment, and provisions across jungle terrain increased operational costs, but yielded unparalleled atmospheric authenticity. Helicopters, night shoots, and environmental sound capture required both financial and managerial investment, yet the return was significant: audience immersion and critical recognition of the film's tactile realism. In financial terms, this is analogous to front-loading capital expenditure to secure premium product differentiation, thereby enhancing long-term market value. Marketing strategy for Predator was carefully orchestrated to optimize box office returns. 20th Century Fox leveraged Schwarzenegger's international star appeal through print, television, and trailer campaigns. Posters emphasized the alien antagonist while highlighting human vulnerability, converting suspense into a compelling value proposition. Trailers, released in summer 1987, employed selective narrative reveals and thematic tension to target demographics aged 15 to 45, capturing both action enthusiasts and science fiction fans. From a financial lens, the studio invested approximately $5 million in global marketing, roughly a third of the production budget, mirroring modern customer acquisition cost calculations where upfront marketing expenditure is designed to generate exponential audience engagement. Distribution decisions further enhanced ROI. Predator premiered in July 1987, a strategic choice aligning with the summer blockbuster window. The domestic release maximized exposure during peak cinema attendance periods, while international distribution extended the revenue horizon, ensuring a diversified geographical income stream. Ancillary markets, home video, VHS, pay television, and eventual DVD and Blu-ray releases, further monetized intellectual property, turning a finite production investment into a long-tail revenue pipeline. Even merchandise, including action figures and branded apparel, functioned as incremental revenue streams, leveraging the Predator's unique design to create monetizable brand extensions. The box office performance validates these financial strategies. Domestically, Predator grossed approximately $59.7 million, nearly 4 times its production budget. International revenue contributed an additional $35 million, bringing total global receipts to roughly $95 million. When we analyze return on investment, these figures reflect an EBITDA-style margin that far exceeded initial expectations, especially for a mid-range action sci-fi hybrid. In simple terms, every dollar invested in production, marketing, and technical innovation yielded a compounded financial return, demonstrating the synergy of creative and operational execution. The interplay of production budgeting and audience psychology is noteworthy. The careful allocation toward suspense building and environmental authenticity ensured that the audience remained emotionally invested, which directly translated into higher ticket sales and repeat viewings. This is analogous to investing in brand equity. The more engaged and emotionally connected the audience, the higher the probability of revenue conversion across multiple channels, including home entertainment and merchandise. In effect, the film's budget was not merely a cost. It functioned as a multi-layered investment designed to maximize long-term profitability. Additionally, studio governance and contingency planning played crucial roles. McTiernan's shooting schedule incorporated buffer days for unpredictable jungle conditions, mechanical failures with animatronic systems, and actor availability, reflecting financial foresight and risk mitigation. The studio maintained oversight on expenditure, ensuring cost containment while allowing creative flexibility. These management structures mirror corporate fiscal strategies where operational risk and creative opportunity must be balanced to optimize project ROI. Streaming revenue, although non-existent at the time, became a significant post-facto revenue source with digital re-releases decades later. The intellectual property embedded in Predator, from the creature design to the iconic taglines, created enduring brand value. Licensing agreements for sequels, spin-offs, video games, and merchandise extended the ROI horizon indefinitely. Conceptually, this is the realization of net present value. Early investments in intellectual property and production quality yield compounding returns over decades, illustrating a rare fusion of immediate and long-term financial payoff in cinema. In conclusion, Predator exemplifies how careful financial orchestration, strategic marketing, and smart capital allocation can transform a mid-range budget into a high-return blockbuster. From Arnold Schwarzenegger's star salary to Stan Winston's creature innovation, from location authenticity to meticulous distribution planning, every expenditure is a calculated investment designed to maximize audience engagement and long-term profitability. This $15 million venture into suspense, action, and sci-fi risk not only yielded nearly $100 million worldwide, but also established a cultural and financial benchmark for genre hybridization, merchandising, and franchise development. In effect, Predator teaches both filmmakers and investors alike that narrative ambition, technical execution, and strategic marketing can converge into a harmonious system of financial and emotional ROI. My literature-loving friends, Predator is a masterclass not only in narrative suspense but also in technical audacity. Behind the thick canopy and the adrenaline-soaked sequences lies an intricate ballet of filmmaking technology, carefully calibrated to maximize audience immersion and deliver unprecedented suspense for its time. Every decision, from camera selection to practical effects, was both a creative and economic calculation, a harmonious intersection of artistic ambition and industrial engineering. At the heart of Predator's visual innovation was cinematographer Donald McAlpine, whose work harnessed both environmental authenticity and cutting-edge camera technology. The film utilized Panavision Panaflex cameras paired with 35mm film stock, chosen for their ability to capture the dense jungle with high fidelity and dynamic range. The decision to shoot on location in the Yucatan Peninsula imposed significant technical constraints. Humidity threatened lenses, sunlight varied dramatically, and the foliage created unpredictable lighting conditions. McAlpine's solution combined high-speed lenses with controlled diffusion filters, allowing operators to maintain consistent exposure while emphasizing texture and depth in the jungle. From a technological ROI perspective, these choices minimized post-production corrections and ensured that each shot was both visually rich and logistically efficient. Practical effects were central to the Predator's iconic presence. Stan Winston's animatronic design incorporated mechanical servos, pneumatic systems, and detailed prosthetic construction. The Predator suit weighed over 80 pounds, with intricate internal controls allowing facial expressions and clawed hand movements. These physical innovations were complemented by early optical enhancements and compositing techniques. Selective chroma keying, optical mattis, and practical lighting rigs created the illusion of invisibility and advanced alien technology. Each effect was strategically staged to maximize impact without overextending the modest $15 million budget, reflecting a careful balance between technical investment and audience emotional return. Sound design further amplified the Predator's presence, integrating technology into the storytelling fabric. Audio engineers employed layered field recordings, mechanical clicks, high-pitched hums, and synthesized growls to give the creature a distinct sonic identity. The team utilized Avid Pro tools for multi-track layering, allowing sound effects to interact dynamically with on-screen action. This technical approach increased immersion, translating unseen tension into perceptible, measurable cues for the audience. Sound, in this case, functioned as both narrative amplifier and technological asset, highlighting the careful orchestration of human and mechanical inputs. Lighting technology also played a crucial role. The production team leveraged natural light, supplemented by portable HMI lamps, to create chiaroscuro effects that accentuated suspense. Infrared sequences, representing the Predator's thermal vision, required innovative post-production manipulation and practical lighting adjustments. Cinematographers mapped jungle topography to enhance depth perception on-screen, employing controlled flare and bounce techniques to simulate Predator visibility in dynamic environments. These lighting innovations were essential for both psychological impact and technological fidelity, demonstrating how hardware choices directly influence narrative perception. Additionally, motion control systems were selectively applied for high-impact shots. Tracking the Predator through dense foliage required repeatable camera movements to composite practical effects seamlessly with live-action sequences. Steadicams were employed for tracking soldiers through the jungle, creating a kinetic, immersive perspective that mirrored human vulnerability. These technologies, while expensive in setup, produced exponential emotional returns, converting logistical expenditure into suspenseful narrative engagement. Miniature and scale models supplemented the practical jungle environment for specific sequences. For example, helicopter flybys and environmental effects, such as debris displacement during explosions, used controlled miniature rigs. This reduced the risk and cost of destructive set work while maintaining realism. Each technological choice reflects a principle of constrained resource optimization. Deliver maximum cinematic effect with minimal overrun, ensuring that capital and creative output converge efficiently. Post-production also demonstrates technical ingenuity. Editing utilized flatbed machines and early digital interfaces, ensuring precise timing of suspense beats. Color grading enhanced depth perception and emphasized thermal cues in Predator sequences, while selective compositing allowed animatronic performance to integrate seamlessly with live-action footage. The team leveraged these workflows to maintain the illusion of a technologically superior alien, heightening audience investment without requiring extensive CGI, which was still nascent in 1987. Finally, the integration of physical and technological design created a synergistic ecosystem. The Predator's weaponry, plasma caster, wrist blades, and cloaking system, required on-set coordination between mechanical engineers, puppeteers, and cinematographers. Each shot was a complex project management problem, balancing safety, functionality, and visual fidelity. The innovation lies in the interplay between constraints, mechanical weight, human operator limits, and the cinematic requirement to evoke terror. By carefully coordinating these technological layers, the filmmakers produced a creature that is both believable and terrifying, achieving a psychological effect far beyond its production budget. In conclusion, Predator exemplifies the marriage of technical ingenuity and narrative ambition. Every Panavision lens choice, animatronic servo adjustment, lighting rig, and sound cue was an engineered investment designed to maximize both suspense and operational efficiency. The film's technological innovation extends beyond visible effects. It encompasses workflow optimization, environmental adaptation, and the precise orchestration of multidisciplinary teams. Through this lens, Predator teaches a fundamental lesson. In cinema, as in finance, the intelligent application of technology amplifies emotional and narrative ROI, transforming constraints into creative advantage. The film stands as a testament to how meticulous technological design, when harmonized with narrative intent, can elevate a genre film into an enduring cultural and financial success. My literature-loving friends, beyond the sweat, the gunfire, and the roar of an extraterrestrial hunter lies a meticulously engineered system of production management, where every decision, from crew scheduling to on-set hierarchy, carries financial and creative weight. Predator is as much an exercise in corporate project management as it is a cinematic thriller, a $15 million enterprise whose returns depended on precise coordination, operational efficiency, and strategic foresight. At the helm, director John McTiernan functioned as the CEO of this jungle-based venture. His role extended beyond narrative vision. He managed the flow of human capital, actors, stunt performers, crew, the deployment of technological resources, cameras, lighting, animatronics, and operational contingencies dictated by an unpredictable location. In production management terms, the film exemplifies lean scheduling with high-stakes resource allocation. Every helicopter flight, every night shoot, every stunt had to be choreographed for both safety and budget adherence. The decision to film in the Yucatan Peninsula imposed logistical complexity akin to managing a distributed corporate project. Remote location shooting required the transport of equipment, catering, medical support, and lodging across rough terrain. Daily call sheets acted as operational blueprints, coordinating multiple departments from camera and grip to art, special effects, and sound. Each department functioned as a semi-autonomous unit, but had to synchronize seamlessly under McTiernan's leadership, a classic example of matrix management applied to cinematic production. Delays due to weather, animal interference, or mechanical failure were equivalent to unplanned operating costs in a high-risk corporate project, and contingency buffers were pre-calculated to prevent budgetary overruns. Time in Predator's production ecosystem was an explicit form of capital. Night sequences, key to maintaining suspense, required careful timing of artificial lighting, actor availability, and animatronic readiness. A single misstep could cascade into schedule delays and cost escalation. McTiernan's scheduling mirrors financial hedging strategies. High-risk sequences were front-loaded with buffer days, reducing the chance of capital loss through unplanned delays. Each day of shooting represented both an expenditure of money and a strategic opportunity to maximize emotional payoff on screen. The Predator animatronics and prosthetics also introduced complex project dependencies. Coordinating multiple puppeteers, engineers, and camera operators to animate a single scene required precise sequencing, akin to a multi-stage production line. Each servo adjustment, facial expression, or claw motion demanded rehearsal and synchronization, ensuring that human capital, mechanical systems, and cinematic framing converged seamlessly. The risk management here was both operational and financial. Failures would not only compromise narrative fidelity, but also inflate labor and equipment costs. Studio economics further influenced production decisions. 20th Century Fox monitored daily burn rates, approved overtime, and assessed risk exposure relative to projected revenue. Decisions like actor casting, stunt complexity, and set construction were negotiated between creative intent and financial oversight. This reflects a principle familiar to corporate finance: balancing operational risk with expected return. Investments in high-value elements, Schwarzenegger's star salary, Winston's animatronics, helicopter sequences, were justified by anticipated revenue multipliers, including domestic box office, international distribution, and ancillary markets. Crew hierarchy was another element of economic efficiency. McTiernan relied on assistant directors, unit coordinators, and department heads to manage their respective domains while maintaining overall project cohesion. This delegation reduced managerial overhead, allowed for parallel workflows, and minimized idle time, a direct application of human capital optimization. Each department's output could be quantified in terms of contribution to the narrative, suspense, and visual fidelity, effectively translating creative labor into measurable production value. Supply chain management for props, costumes, and equipment was non-trivial. Jungle filming required multiple backup suits for the predator, spare weaponry, and redundant camera systems. This approach resembles inventory hedging in finance. Upfront investment in redundancy mitigates the risk of catastrophic operational failure. Similarly, practical effects sequences were rehearsed extensively to avoid reshoots, reducing both temporal and monetary loss. The production's ability to transform logistical complexity into controlled execution demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of project risk management. Marketing and studio communications were also integrated into production economics. Fox's release strategy, trailer scheduling, and promotional photography were coordinated with ongoing filming, ensuring synergy between production progress and audience anticipation. This alignment between content creation and market activation maximized return on both creative and promotional capital. The film's launch, timed strategically in July 1987, reflects the careful consideration of external market forces in production planning, summer release windows being high-demand periods that optimize ticket sales potential. Financially, the meticulous production management contributed to a remarkable return on investment. By controlling operational overhead, optimizing human and technological resources, and strategically sequencing high-risk, high-reward sequences, the studio maximized the efficiency of its $15 million budget. This fiscal discipline, combined with effective marketing and distribution, converted capital input into significant box office performance, generating nearly 4 times the production cost domestically and substantial international returns. In conclusion, Predator is a vivid illustration of how production management functions as an economic engine within filmmaking. McTiernan's leadership, coupled with studio oversight, operational coordination, and strategic resource allocation, transformed a mid-range budget into a high-impact cinematic experience. Every day of shooting, every logistical adjustment, and every technological deployment was both a creative and financial decision, reinforcing the principle that in Hollywood, time equals capital. The film's enduring success is a testament to the synergy of operational efficiency, technological innovation, and narrative ambition, demonstrating that disciplined management can transform high-risk ventures into cultural and financial triumphs. My literature-loving friends, while Predator immerses viewers in suspenseful fiction, it simultaneously engages with the tangible realities of human behavior, jungle ecology, and speculative science, offering a fascinating lens through which we can examine historical and scientific accuracy. The film's credibility is anchored in its careful attention to environmental authenticity, physiological plausibility, and the intelligent design of the predator as an extrapolated, technologically advanced species. Firstly, the portrayal of the Central American jungle is remarkably accurate. Filming in the Yucatan Peninsula allowed McTiernan and his cinematography team to capture dense tropical vegetation, uneven terrain, and natural soundscapes that mirror actual rainforests. The undergrowth, humidity, and variable light conditions are not merely aesthetic choices, but accurate reflections of the environmental challenges faced by soldiers operating in such biomes. The film illustrates principles of jungle survival, camouflage, noise discipline, and line-of-sight limitations that align with military field manuals. For instance, Dutch and his team's tactics, such as using vantage points and silent movement, are consistent with reconnaissance operations conducted by Special Forces units in real-world jungle warfare. From a biological standpoint, the predator's hunting methods, while speculative, follow logical extrapolations from known predatory behaviors. The creature's cloaking ability, though technologically fictional, mimics concepts from adaptive camouflage in nature. Cephalopods like cuttlefish and chameleons can modulate skin pigmentation to blend into their environment, a principle that inspired the predator's optical camouflage. Similarly, its thermal vision is a plausible extension of infrared detection seen in some reptiles and mammals, albeit amplified with fictional technological sophistication. The predator's physiological design, a combination of strength, agility, and sensory acuity, reflects credible biomechanical engineering. While the film takes artistic liberties, the creature's movement patterns, predation strategies, and stealth capabilities remain consistent with principles of evolutionary advantage and predator-prey dynamics. Human physical performance is portrayed with both dramatic flourish and plausible limitations. The soldier's stamina, reaction times, and tactical decision-making reflect rigorous training and human physiology. Schwarzenegger's Dutch, while exaggerated for cinematic effect, demonstrates realistic principles of load-bearing, team coordination, and adaptive strategy under duress. Injuries and fatigue impact performance in ways consistent with known physiological responses to stress, exertion, and combat. The depiction of these limitations enhances believability and allows the audience to engage cognitively with the scenario as a simulation of extreme conditions. The Predator's technology, while speculative, is designed with internal consistency. Its plasma caster, shoulder-mounted targeting system, and cloaking device adhere to coherent mechanical and energy principles. For example, the creature's wrist computer displays logical sequencing for weapon calibration and environmental scanning. While current human technology could not replicate these systems in 1987, the design reflects a conceptual extrapolation of thermodynamics, optics, and energy projection. In this sense, the film demonstrates a thoughtful engagement with scientific plausibility. It presents an alien predator that is fantastical yet internally rational, a hallmark of successful speculative fiction. From a historical context, the film loosely references the geopolitical realities of the 1980s Central American conflicts. Guerrilla insurgencies, covert operations, and U.S. military involvement provide a backdrop that, while simplified for narrative clarity, aligns with documented military activity in regions such as Nicaragua and El Salvador during that era. While Predator does not intend to provide a documentary-level account of political events, it incorporates credible military hierarchy, tactics, and terminology, lending authenticity to the soldiers' interactions and operational planning. Environmental and ecological consistency is also carefully maintained. The film portrays predator-prey dynamics within the jungle ecosystem with attention to realism. Disturbed flora reacts to movement, animals flee in response to gunfire, and terrain impacts tactical maneuverability. These details, though subtle, demonstrate a commitment to research integrity. Consulting advisors, including former military personnel and special forces veterans, informed character behavior, tactical sequences, and equipment usage, ensuring that even in a fictional narrative, actions were grounded in plausible expertise. One particularly striking example of scientific diligence is the depiction of the predator's thermal vision. Infrared sequences accurately simulate heat differentials. Humans appear as bright silhouettes against cooler surroundings, while vegetation and ground surfaces register appropriately. This consistency reinforces cognitive suspension of disbelief, allowing audiences to engage with alien technology as if it operates within known physical laws. Similarly, environmental cues, sunlight filtering through dense canopy, mist rising from foliage, and water absorption in soil, reflect careful observation of natural physics and lighting, further enhancing visual realism. Moreover, Predator demonstrates implicit lessons in survival psychology and operational science. Dutch and his team employ strategies aligned with adaptive problem-solving under risk. Concepts such as path selection, resource rationing, and threat assessment are portrayed in ways consistent with real-world military doctrine. Even the improvisation of traps, such as tripwires and camouflaged pits, represents credible applications of mechanical principles and biomechanical leverage. These sequences, while cinematic, are grounded in a respect for practical knowledge, blending scientific rigor with storytelling. In conclusion, Predator excels at integrating speculative science with environmental, physiological, and historical plausibility. While the alien hunter and its technology are fictional, every other narrative layer, human behavior, jungle ecology, military tactics, and biomechanical realism, is underpinned by research and logical extrapolation. The filmmakers created a coherent universe where the audience can mentally model survival, risk, and technological interaction, making the suspense and engagement both emotionally and intellectually satisfying. In doing so, Predator transcends mere entertainment. It becomes a study in the balance of creative imagination with scientific credibility, demonstrating how films can educate audiences subtly while delivering visceral thrills. My literature-loving friends, in Predator, the jungle is not merely a setting. It is an active participant, a living visual engine where light, shadow, and composition engineer suspense and guide audience emotion. Donald McAlpine's cinematography transforms the forest into a data-rich landscape, translating human fear, tactical calculation, and alien menace into a measurable visual syntax. Every lens choice, lighting angle, and camera movement is both an artistic and technical investment, harmonizing creative vision with operational precision. From the opening helicopter sequences to the final confrontation, McAlpine's use of Panavision Panaflex 35mm cameras demonstrates a keen understanding of dynamic range, depth perception, and optical fidelity. The decision to employ high-speed lenses allowed for crisp imagery in low-light jungle conditions, preserving both environmental texture and actor visibility. The cinematography accounts for the fact that the Predator's invisibility cloak relies on optical illusions. Careful management of exposure, lens flare, and contrast ensures the audience perceives the creature's presence without breaking suspension of disbelief. This is a perfect example of engineering emotion through visual technology. Lighting, both natural and artificial, is engineered as a narrative device. HMI and Kino flow lights were deployed to simulate shafts of sunlight piercing dense foliage, while subtle fill lights maintained visibility of actors in shadowed undergrowth. During Predator sequences, infrared perspectives required post-production manipulation of color channels to simulate thermal vision. McAlpine's coordination with special effects and colorists ensured that these sequences were visually coherent, preserving the illusion that the Predator operates within the laws of physics while allowing the human audience to track threat vectors. This meticulous planning reflects a high level of visual engineering, where every photon contributes to tension and emotional return. Composition further reinforces narrative efficiency. McAlpine frequently employs deep focus shots to maintain spatial awareness of both human actors and environmental hazards, guiding audience attention to potential danger while preserving depth cues. Close-ups of hands, eyes, or tactical equipment provide micro-level suspense, functioning as visual triggers that prepare viewers for upcoming action. Wide shots capture environmental scale, establishing the jungle as both adversary and stage. Each frame is engineered to maximize informational content while preserving cinematic beauty, converting visual capital into emotional ROI. Camera movement is integral to suspense delivery. Handheld Steadicam sequences track soldiers through the underbrush, simulating human perception and vulnerability. These movements introduce subtle instability that mirrors the character's tension, translating physiological stress into visual data. By contrast, dolly and crane shots establish broader context, providing orientation while maintaining suspense through selective framing. The interplay of these techniques demonstrates an understanding of how visual engineering converts motion, perspective, and framing into audience immersion metrics. Color grading and contrast management are subtle but critical. McAlpine and the post-production team adjusted green saturation and shadow depth to evoke both realism and menace. The Predator sequences feature muted greens and dense shadows, amplifying the sense of alien intrusion, whereas lighter daylight sequences balance narrative relief with environmental authenticity. By controlling chromatic dynamics, the cinematography ensures that visual cues, whether subtle leaf movement or Predator reflection, communicate tension without requiring explicit exposition. This is an engineering solution, emotion quantified and amplified through color science. Lens choice also encodes psychological cues. Telephoto lenses compress space, creating claustrophobic tension when characters are stalked or trapped. Wide-angle lenses emphasize environmental vastness and human vulnerability. Selective focus allows the Predator to emerge from near invisibility while preserving background context, guiding audience attention with precision. Each lens choice reflects both a narrative function and a technical constraint, demonstrating how equipment selection directly impacts emotional conversion. Dynamic visual engineering extends to practical effects integration. Explosions, blood squibs, and animatronic Predator actions were choreographed with camera placement to maximize visibility while minimizing resource waste. For example, camera angles emphasize the Predator's movements through foliage without requiring CGI augmentation, creating a perceived presence greater than the sum of physical elements. This efficiency mirrors operational engineering principles. Maximize output with minimal resource expenditure, preserving budget while achieving narrative impact. The The cinematography also supports narrative pacing. Shots are timed to correspond with heartbeat rhythm, spatial orientation, and perceived threat escalation. Quick cuts during attack sequences increase cognitive load, heightening suspense, while long takes during stalking sequences allow tension to accumulate organically. Visual metrics, frame composition, motion cadence, and lighting contrast function as analogs to investment signals, converting audience anticipation into tangible emotional return. Finally, McAlpine's collaboration with special effects, lighting, and direction illustrates the integration of human capital with technological assets. Each shot is a calculated interaction of lens choice, lighting design, environmental variables, and practical effects coordination. The result is a visual engineering system that transforms technical expertise into cinematic tension, where audience immersion is both measurable and maximized. In conclusion, Predator demonstrates that cinematography is not merely aesthetic, but an engineered system of emotional delivery. McAlpine's technical mastery, through lens selection, lighting innovation, composition, movement, and color science, ensures that the jungle becomes a dynamic participant in the narrative. Every visual choice converts budget and technical capital into suspense, guiding audience perception and amplifying psychological engagement. The film teaches that cinematography is a science as much as an art. By quantifying visual cues and engineering them with precision, filmmakers can transform story, environment, and technology into a harmonized, emotionally resonant cinematic experience. My literature-loving friends, while the dense foliage, calculated ambushes, and Predator's invisible maneuvers define the visual suspense of Predator, the true heartbeat of the jungle lies in its soundscape. Sound in this film is not merely a layer of sensory stimulation. It is an engineered system of psychological cues, technological innovation, and narrative amplification. Each rustle, roar, and electronic pulse functions as both an emotional signal and a measurable investment in audience engagement. The score, composed by Silvestri, is a foundational element of this auditory architecture. Silvestri combines orchestral motifs with percussive, synthesized elements to create tension and rhythmic escalation that mirrors narrative pacing. The main Predator theme is constructed with low-frequency percussion, dissonant strings, and electronic textures that evoke alien intelligence and predatory stealth. By blending orchestral and synthetic sound, the score transforms auditory input into cognitive signals. Viewers subconsciously interpret these sonic patterns as threat indicators, heightening physiological arousal and emotional ROI. In essence, Silvestri's music functions as both narrative guide and suspense amplifier, converting compositional capital into audience attention. Beyond the score, the sound design team employed advanced techniques for its era, utilizing layered Foley, field recordings, and synthesized effects to produce a multidimensional jungle ecosystem. Every leaf snap, twig crack, and distant animal call was captured or synthesized to maintain spatial and environmental fidelity. These sounds were carefully placed in the stereo field to create directional cues, allowing viewers to anticipate Predator movement even before visual confirmation. From a technical standpoint, this is an elegant orchestration of audio data. Sound design acts as a parallel information system, providing both narrative insight and immersive experience. The Predator's own auditory identity is a triumph of sound engineering. Its vocalizations, a combination of guttural growls, clicks, and electronically modulated screeches, were designed to be both alien and physiologically plausible. Sound designers layered animal recordings, mechanical processing, and electronic modulation to produce a creature voice that conveys intelligence, aggression, and otherworldly presence. The sound is strategically sparse. Brief, unpredictable appearances maximize suspense while conserving auditory capital. In this way, the Predator's sound serves as a high-leverage tool, providing exponential emotional return on minimal use. Foley work in Predator exemplifies micro-level sound engineering. Soldiers' footsteps on damp leaves, weapon handling, and interaction with jungle elements were all recorded and precisely mixed. Each sound event is calibrated to emphasize both realism and narrative clarity. For example, the distinct thump of a machete, the recoil of a firearm, or the subtle scraping of a rifle against foliage communicates both environmental context and operational tension. From an economic perspective, Foley serves as low-cost, high-impact technology. Minor auditory cues produce outsized engagement, reinforcing the film's suspense architecture. Spatial audio design further enhances immersion. The mix employs selective panning, reverberation, and layering to simulate three-dimensional space. Predator sequences leverage directional audio to indicate movement through invisible areas, converting auditory data into cognitive understanding for the audience. This design strategy mirrors principles in signal processing and information theory. Listeners extract maximum information from sound cues, translating them into anticipatory tension and engagement. McTiernan and the sound team effectively treat audio as a measurable asset, translating its emotional capital into heightened suspense. Post-production audio workflows were cutting-edge for 1987. The team utilized Avid Pro Tools, or equivalent analog systems at the time, for multi-track recording, synchronization, and mixing. Tracks for score, Foley, diegetic sound, and effects were balanced to prevent auditory masking, ensuring clarity even during complex sequences involving helicopters, explosions, or predator movement. This multi-layered architecture functions like a networked system. Each audio element interacts with others to produce a coherent perceptual field, maximizing narrative throughput while minimizing cognitive confusion. Silvestri's thematic motifs are tightly integrated with environmental sounds. For instance, the main Predator theme is often subtly interwoven with jungle ambience, creating seamless transitions between visual and auditory cues. Low-frequency elements not only generate tension, but also resonate physiologically, increasing heartbeat synchronization with on-screen events. This approach exemplifies the conversion of compositional input into physiological and psychological output, a tangible metric of emotional ROI. Dialogue recording and placement were equally critical. In the jungle environment, ambient noise threatened intelligibility, requiring careful on-set monitoring and post-production clarity adjustments. ADR, automated dialogue replacement, was selectively employed to maintain realism while preserving audience understanding. The coordination between dialogue, Foley, score, and environmental sound illustrates a holistic understanding of auditory economics, balancing clarity, immersion, and narrative tension to maximize return on production time and budget investment. Finally, dynamic range management in mixing enhances both subtlety and impact. Quiet sequences, such as leaves rustling before an ambush, contrast sharply with explosive firefights or predator attacks, creating an auditory delta that amplifies suspense. The audience's perception of threat is heightened not only by what is heard, but by what is absent, employing silence and minimalism as strategic capital. Sound design thus operates as both narrative currency and technical asset, orchestrated with precision to maximize engagement without excessive resource expenditure. In conclusion, Predator exemplifies sound design and music production as engineered systems of narrative, psychological, and technical influence. From Silvestri's score to multi-layered Foley, spatial audio, and alien vocalizations, the auditory architecture translates production investment into heightened emotional ROI. The film teaches that sound is not merely accompaniment, it is a measurable asset, a tool for directing attention, amplifying suspense, and converting technical input into cognitive and emotional engagement. By integrating auditory innovation with precise production planning, Predator demonstrates how music and sound engineering are essential components in creating cinematic experiences that are both immersive and economically optimized. My literature-loving friends, beyond the sweat-soaked jungle and alien menace, Predator is also a case study in marketing strategy and audience analytics. How a $15 million production transformed into a multi-channel revenue-generating phenomenon through calculated promotional design. The film's success is not solely attributable to action sequences or suspenseful plotting. It is equally the product of strategically orchestrated audience engagement and market intelligence. 20th Century Fox leveraged Arnold Schwarzenegger's star power as the initial anchor of the film's marketing architecture. Posters, television spots, and print campaigns prominently featured the muscular, stoic presence of Dutch, emphasizing both physical heroism and vulnerability in an alien-controlled environment. The studio understood that Schwarzenegger's global appeal functioned as a predictive signal for audience turnout, effectively reducing uncertainty in box office projections. In marketing terms, he was a high-value influencer whose brand equity translated directly into anticipated ticket sales. Trailer strategy was meticulously calibrated to maximize suspense and curiosity. Initial teasers revealed minimal predator exposure, employing partial shots, shadows, and sound cues, much like a controlled pre-launch beta in product marketing. By delaying full creature disclosure, The campaign engineered scarcity-driven demand, optimizing audience anticipation. Each cut, sound effect, and dialogue snippet was designed to create cognitive tension, maximizing pre-release emotional ROI. Subsequent trailers gradually revealed more Predator technology and tactical sequences, converting suspense into tangible purchase intent while maintaining narrative secrecy. An exemplary use of staged information asymmetry in marketing. Print advertising complemented audiovisual campaigns. Posters often depicted Dutch in iconic poses juxtaposed against the Predator's ominous silhouette or its fiery laser targeting system. Typography, layout, and color choices reinforced the film's genre blend: action, science fiction, and suspense. These design decisions were informed by demographic targeting, primarily young adult males, while maintaining broad appeal to action and sci-fi enthusiasts. The posters acted as both brand markers and micro-incentives, converting visual engagement into attendance probability. Audience segmentation played a central role in marketing analytics. Fox identified multiple overlapping demographic clusters: action movie fans, science fiction aficionados, and international audiences seeking summer entertainment. By employing geographically tailored campaigns, the studio optimized regional ROI. Urban areas received high-frequency television spots emphasizing suspense and special effects, whereas rural and suburban markets focused on star-led imagery. This multi-channel targeting strategy reflects modern marketing analytics, differential investment based on predicted conversion efficiency. Word of mouth functioned as an organic growth vector, amplified by early critical responses and targeted pre-screenings. Test audiences in Los Angeles and New York were monitored for engagement metrics: audience startle response, laughter, and attention retention. These early insights informed trailer edits and strategic placement of visual emphasis. The studio treated these psychological and behavioral signals as predictive indicators of box office performance, essentially using human response data as a forecasting tool, a sophisticated application of behavioral analytics long before digital social tracking became prevalent. Merchandising strategy reinforced brand presence and extended revenue channels. Action figures, comic books, and promotional paraphernalia capitalized on the Predator's unique design, creating tangible secondary assets that monetized the film beyond ticket sales. Each merchandising decision represented an additional ROI channel, expanding the financial ecosystem around the intellectual property. By linking audience fascination with alien technology to purchasable goods, Fox converted narrative engagement into durable capital, effectively creating an early model of transmedia monetization. International marketing leveraged both star power and the Predator's technological intrigue. Posters and trailers were adapted linguistically and visually for different markets, emphasizing either human heroism or alien menace depending on cultural receptivity. Strategic release dates in key international territories ensured maximum visibility during peak viewing periods. This approach demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of global market dynamics, converting location and culture-specific analytics into optimized revenue generation. Even ancillary marketing channels were thoughtfully deployed. Magazine features, interviews, behind-the-scenes articles, and television talk show appearances reinforced audience anticipation. Behind-the-scenes insights into Stan Winston's Predator design highlighted technological innovation, indirectly elevating perceived production value and justifying premium ticket pricing. This multi-pronged strategy treated marketing as a continuous engagement pipeline, maximizing the emotional and financial yield from both human attention and media investment. The film's eventual release demonstrates the efficiency of these strategies. Opening in July 1987, Predator capitalized on the summer blockbuster window, strategically avoiding direct competition with other major releases. Box office tracking indicates that audience anticipation translated into rapid early weekend turnout, reflecting the efficacy of pre-release marketing and engagement analytics. Subsequent weekend retention was bolstered by positive audience sentiment and word of mouth, confirming predictive assumptions embedded in the studio's marketing model. From an analytical perspective, the film illustrates several key principles of high RPM media marketing: targeted audience segmentation, scarcity-driven teaser campaigns, iterative feedback from test screenings, transmedia monetization, and strategic international positioning. Each investment in advertising, public relations, and ancillary channels was quantitatively and qualitatively aligned with expected emotional and financial return. The studio's ability to coordinate these disparate elements demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of both consumer behavior and operational economics within the cinematic marketplace. In conclusion, Predator's marketing and audience analytics exemplify how Hollywood combines data-driven insight with creative narrative design to optimize ROI. From the calculated use of star power to precision-crafted trailers, targeted demographic campaigns, and merchandise integration, every element of promotion was engineered to maximize engagement and revenue. This strategic orchestration of attention, anticipation, and emotional investment transformed a $15 million production into a multi-channel financial success, demonstrating that cinematic suspense is not only a creative endeavor, but also a sophisticated exercise in behavioral economics and marketing engineering. My literature-loving friends, as Predator left theaters in 1987, it did so not merely as a summer action spectacle, but as a carefully engineered cultural and economic phenomenon. Its reception provides a revealing window into the interplay between creative ambition, audience psychology, and long-term brand value. A cinematic ecosystem where box office metrics, critical analysis, and franchise potential are tightly interwoven. Upon release, Predator garnered generally positive reviews, with particular praise directed at its innovative creature design, suspenseful direction, and intelligent blending of genres. Critics noted the film's ability to combine visceral action with cerebral tension, emphasizing the Predator's near invisibility as a narrative engine. Publications such as Variety and The Hollywood Reporter highlighted McTiernan's direction as precise and efficient, with a tight narrative that balanced character development against escalating suspense. The Predator itself was universally lauded as a technological marvel of practical effects. Stan Winston's animatronics and prosthetic work were considered groundbreaking, contributing to both narrative believability and immersive audience experience. Audience reception mirrored these critical perspectives. The film achieved strong word-of-mouth appeal, particularly among demographics aged 15 to 45, who responded to the combination of action spectacle and intelligent suspense. Box office performance confirmed this engagement. Domestically, Predator grossed approximately $59.7 million, with international revenue contributing an additional $35 million, bringing total gross receipts to roughly $95 million. Compared to its $15 million production budget, these returns reflected a nearly fourfold multiplier, signaling not only financial success, but also a high level of audience approval. The film's cinema score and contemporary audience polling indicated strong positive reception, with particular enthusiasm for the Predator's design and the human versus alien tactical sequences. While Predator was not a major contender in traditional award circuits, it did receive technical recognition. Special effects teams, sound design engineers, and makeup artists were praised in industry forums for innovation and execution. Stan Winston's creature effects, in particular, are now frequently cited in retrospective analyses as among the most influential of the late 20th century. From an investment perspective, these accolades enhance the film's intellectual property value, cementing its role as a foundational asset in the long-term franchise ecosystem. The legacy of Predator extends far beyond immediate critical and box office success. Its intellectual property spawned sequels, spin-offs, crossover films, e.g. Alien vs. Predator, comic books, video games, and merchandise, demonstrating a long-tail monetization strategy that continues to generate revenue decades after the initial release. This extended value is analogous to the financial concept of net present value, NPV. The early investment in creative design, technical innovation, and brand positioning produces compounding returns over time. Each sequel and ancillary product leverages the original film's cultural and technological capital, creating an ecosystem where intellectual property functions as a durable financial asset. The Predator's design, iconic and immediately recognizable, functions as a form of visual branding. Its technological plausibility, coupled with narrative consistency, ensures that each iteration in sequels or cross-media adaptations maintains audience recognition and trust. This continuity preserves brand equity, a critical factor in evaluating long-term franchise ROI. Additionally, the Predator franchise has influenced broader cinematic trends, inspiring alien hunting motifs, high-tech antagonists, and suspense-driven action sequences across science fiction and thriller genres. This cultural diffusion amplifies the original film's valuation by embedding its conceptual innovations into global cinematic consciousness. critical reception over time has evolved favorably. Modern analyses recognize Predator not merely as an action film, but as a study in suspense, human psychology, and technological ingenuity. Film scholars highlight McTiernan's directorial economy, Silvestri's score integration, and the strategic use of location and practical effects as evidence of thoughtful cinematic engineering. These retrospective evaluations reinforce the film's educational and artistic value, elevating its status in film studies curricula and media analysis forums. By enhancing intellectual credibility, the film extends its long-term brand and cultural capital, further augmenting its revenue potential in syndication, streaming, and academic licensing. From a franchise forecasting perspective, Predator demonstrates robust longevity. Its design, narrative template, and technological innovation provide a framework for iterative content creation. Each sequel and adaptation carries reduced development risk because foundational visual and narrative assets have proven audience appeal. Financially, this reduces marginal production cost while leveraging existing brand equity, a principle widely applied in modern franchise management. The initial $15 million investment, therefore, becomes the base of an enduring multi-channel revenue pipeline, illustrating the strategic foresight embedded in production and marketing decisions. Moreover, the film's influence on industry standards is noteworthy. Practical effects budgets, animatronic sophistication, and tactical narrative pacing established benchmarks for subsequent action science fiction films. Studios recognized the profitability of blending suspense with spectacle, leading to a proliferation of mid-range budget action horror hybrids in the late 1980s and 1990s. In effect, Predator generated both direct and indirect economic impact, immediate box office returns, and long-term influence on production economics and genre evolution. In conclusion, Predator's critical reception, awards acknowledgement, and legacy illustrate how creative, technological, and operational investments converge into sustainable cultural and financial capital. The film's combination of intelligent suspense, innovative creature design, and strategic marketing ensured initial success, while careful brand positioning, technical innovation, and audience engagement generated compounding returns through sequels, merchandise, and franchise expansion. By analyzing Predator through the lenses of cultural capital, intellectual property management, and audience psychology, we see a model of how cinematic products can deliver both immediate gratification and enduring value. The film teaches that legacy is engineered through thoughtful integration of art, technology, and economics, a lesson that resonates far beyond the jungle it portrays. My literature-loving friends, as we emerge from the shadowed jungle of Predator, it becomes clear that this film is more than an action-packed thriller. It is a meticulously engineered convergence of art, technology, and capital. Every moment of suspense, every calculated Predator appearance, and every pulse-pounding encounter is the result of a delicate orchestration of creative vision, technical innovation, and economic strategy. The $15 million gamble that Fox undertook in 1987 yielded a film that not only entertained but educated audiences in the subtle mechanics of cinematic immersion, suspense design, and narrative economics. From an artistic perspective, Predator demonstrates how narrative simplicity can coexist with technical sophistication. The plot, a small team of elite soldiers hunted by an alien predator, is deceptively straightforward, yet it operates as a high-functioning narrative engine. Each character represents a vector of human behavior, tactical acumen, and emotional resonance. McTiernan's direction ensures that suspense is maximized through spatial awareness, pacing, and selective visual revelation. Visual and auditory cues, shadowed foliage, thermal glimpses, rustling leaves, and Silvestri's ominous score combine to transform ordinary cinematic elements into instruments of tension. This is the art of cinema translated into an almost engineering-like precision. Emotion becomes quantifiable, suspense becomes measurable, and audience investment becomes a tangible metric. Technological innovation amplifies this artistic foundation. Stan Winston's Predator design, animatronic complexity, and practical effects push the boundaries of what a mid-budget film could achieve. Cinematography, lighting, lens selection, and camera movement were optimized to communicate threat and environment simultaneously, turning the jungle into a dynamic visual and spatial partner in the narrative. Sound design and music production created an additional cognitive layer, providing predictive cues that guided audience perception and emotional engagement. Each technological choice was made not merely for spectacle but for efficiency, maximizing the psychological return per dollar invested, translating technical expertise into audience immersion and suspense ROI. Financially, Predator is a masterclass in production economics. The allocation of $15 million across star salaries, animatronics, location logistics, marketing, and post-production demonstrates strategic foresight. The studio balanced risk and reward, investing in high-leverage elements such as Arnold Schwarzenegger's global draw and the Predator's visual presence while maintaining overall cost efficiency. Marketing campaigns, teasers, trailers, posters, and international targeting maximized audience anticipation and converted pre-release interest into tangible box office performance. With domestic and international earnings totaling approximately $95 million, the project delivered nearly 4 times its initial budget, illustrating how disciplined capital allocation, audience analytics, and brand positioning converge into a sustainable financial success. Perhaps most importantly, Predator exemplifies how the interplay of art, technology, and capital can generate lasting cultural and intellectual property value. Its influence extended beyond immediate box office returns, spawning sequels, crossovers like Alien vs. Predator, video games, and merchandise. The film created a durable franchise ecosystem. The Predator itself became a brand icon, a symbol of intelligent design, narrative tension, and cinematic ingenuity. The careful engineering of suspense, behavioral realism, and alien technology ensures that even decades later, audiences continue to recognize, admire, and invest emotionally in the Predator universe. From a financial and cultural standpoint, this demonstrates the compounding value of intellectual property. Strategic investment in narrative, design, and technology creates returns that persist across time, media, and generations. The psychological architecture of the film also offers insights into human cognition and behavior under stress. Dutch's leadership, decision-making under asymmetric risk, and adaptive problem-solving highlight the utility of strategic thought under uncertainty. Each character's cognitive profile, behavioral choice, and moral dilemma contributes to a measurable narrative economy. Audience engagement is directly proportional to the tension created by high-stakes decision-making. In this way, Predator not only entertains but educates, converting suspense into lessons on leadership, strategy, and risk management. In reflecting upon the full scope of Predator, one observes a harmonious integration of 3 pillars: art through narrative clarity, suspense, and character design; technology through practical effects, cinematography, sound, and post-production innovation; and capital through strategic budgeting, marketing, and long-term intellectual property management. This trinity of cinema ensures that every element, from helicopter shots to Predator growls, from jungle foliage to climactic confrontation, is optimized for maximum audience impact and financial efficiency. The film's enduring success illustrates that Hollywood's most effective creations are not random acts of spectacle, but carefully engineered systems where creativity, technology, and economics converge. Ultimately, Predator teaches us that a film can be simultaneously thrilling, intelligent, and profitable. It demonstrates how suspense is engineered, technology is applied creatively, and financial decisions are embedded within the narrative fabric. Every dollar spent, every visual and auditory cue, and every directorial choice contributes to a system where emotional, psychological, and financial returns are intertwined. As the Predator fades into the jungle and Dutch emerges victorious, we recognize not only the triumph of human ingenuity on screen, but the triumph of strategic orchestration behind the camera, a lesson in the convergence of art, technology, and capital that resonates beyond cinema into any endeavor where risk, creativity, and operational intelligence meet. If you found this deep dive meaningful, my literature-loving friends, consider liking and subscribing so we can keep decoding the business and beauty of cinema together.